Ho, ho, howdy, ho, good evening, and welcome to the Tuesday Night Live show for February 8th, 2022. Tonight's special guest is Santa Stuart Deacon Jr., who will be joining us tonight from Conroe, Texas. So everyone, please stay with us. We'll be right back after this product endorsement. Welcome back to the show. I'm Santa Bob McMasters, and we are so blessed to be here tonight. Please give a warm welcome to my co-host, Santa Barry Cummins.
Good evening. Glad to have everybody with us tonight. Thank you for being with us. Good to see you tonight, Bob.
Same here, Barry. And along beside me over here is our show producer, F. Angela. So, guys, season 2 has seen 4 weeks of extraordinary guests here on the Tuesday Night Live show. Thank you for spending your Tuesday nights with us, and we are honored to have you all. We will always be raising the bar in our effort to help you learn and grow as professional entertainers. Tonight's guest is one of those just as committed in doing so. If you find value in our efforts, please help us out. It costs nothing because Tuesday Night Live show is and always will be free. Barry?
Hey, everybody, reach over there, give us a like and share, because every time you do, it helps build our viewership and helps build the show. We know you have a choice with your time on Tuesday nights. Thank you for being with us.
And the first half of our Tuesday Night Live show is our trivia question, and that is sponsored by Mr. Derek Dugan at Sleigh Driver Apparel Company. Thank you so much, Derek, for sponsoring this. And Barry, over to you again.
Thank you, Sleigh Driver Apparel Company, for sponsoring this trivia question. Tonight's trivia is movie trivia. In the movie The Polar Express, what word does the conductor punch into the ticket of the young man with all the questions at the end of the night? In The Polar Express, what word does the conductor punch into the ticket of the young man with all the questions at the end of the night? See who can get this one. There we go, Bruce. Congratulations.
Bruce Templeton is our winner tonight. And Bruce, send me or Barry your mailing address, and we'll get that over to Derek Dugan, and he will get your gift that he gives away for the first trivia question of the night over to you as soon as and he normally ships them out the next day. So.
All right. Tonight's guest was born in South Shields, England, and has entertained as Santa Claus for 5 seasons in Idaho, California, and Texas, and around the globe via virtual calls and video messages. He's also a substitute teacher and has a 4-year degree in video production. He's also the founder of the Santa Claus Workshop. Please give a warm Tuesday Night Live welcome to Stuart Deacon Jr., a.k.a. Santa Stuart. Welcome, Stuart.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here tonight, Stuart. Welcome, brother, to the show. Let's start off getting to know you, the personal side of Stuart. Can you share with us about where you was born, about your childhood growing up, and what Christmas meant to you as a child?
Having been born in England, Christmas was a bit different than we typically celebrate here in the States. And growing up, my poppy would dress up as Santa Claus or Father Christmas and come and visit us. So from a very young age, I thought I was on first name basis with Santa Claus. I knew him. He came and visited me, not just on Christmas Eve, but, during the Christmas season, Santa would come. So I was like, I know Santa pretty well. He's, we're very tight, you could say. And, I don't really remember too much other than the visits from Santa of the first few years I was in England, because we moved to the States about the time I was 3.5. And so I never had any memories about mince pies or anything that was very British. I just remember Santa Claus coming and visiting me, and he'd have a bell. That's something we don't see nowadays too much. Is when Santa came to visit, he had this little bell, almost like the Salvation Army. He'd come in and ring his bell, and it was a wonderful experience. And growing up, because I knew Santa so well, I was trying to find the same one. So later in the States, I would go around and find Santas and see, is this the same one? No, his suit's a different color, or his beard's not just right. So I became kind of a sleuth when it came to finding Santa Claus. But I've always loved Christmas.
That's a great story there. I got to follow up on that. Have you had the opportunity to go back to England since you left at the age of 3.5?
I went back when I was 8, about the time I was being baptized. And then I went back again when I was 13, but that was, 14 years ago. So it's been a while. My dad passed away, so that's kind of due to the separation. We just haven't really gone back because there's just aunts and uncles, and it's a bit hard to travel now, even though flights are very affordable. But I want to get back there, take my kids, take my wife, and go and see them. It's just not in the cards right now with how things are panning out with the pandemic.
Oh yeah, the pandemic has changed so much, especially when it comes to travel. So let's go to the next question. As a child, what was your favorite gift or toy you received at Christmas time?
The first memory I have of Santa Claus is my mom and dad calling up to us from the front door of the flat. And in England, that's an apartment. We're on the second story. My sister and I were playing, and we hear, Layla, Stu, come downstairs. Santa's coming down the road. And we're like, Santa's not coming down the road. He's got a sleigh and reindeer. What is this? And they're like, come on, come down. And we're like, no, we're busy playing, Mom. And so they said, well, just look out the window. And so I remember parting the curtains and looking out and seeing Santa Claus with this rocking horse on his shoulders. It was my poppy, and I didn't know that till years later. But he had this really old rocking horse that he had made a new tail for and a new set of ears that didn't match the rest of it. And that became our nativity donkey. That became our horse that we would ride to pretend to be Robin Hood or Errol Flynn, and they died with their boots on. It was very much our go-to piece. And he wasn't very big and he wasn't very small, so we named him Medium because he was medium. And now I have him as part of my collection, and I have him in the backdrops of most of my videos that I do. And that's the best gift I ever got from Santa Claus was medium, and that's part of the reason why I decided to become a Santa Claus.
Wow, that is way cool. Pretty neat to bring anything from your childhood into your present day portrayal. Barry?
Yeah, Stuart, you mentioned food a while ago. That gets Bob and I excited. Did you have a favorite food as a child, or maybe a dessert that you have for Christmas?
Well, I'll tell you, I've always been a sucker for the butter cookies in the tin, and I don't like any kind except the kind that look like a horseshoe. They're the softest, they're the sweetest, and they just the texture and the shape, that's what I like. I don't like the hard ones with the crystallized sugar on top. I just like the horseshoe looking ones that are very nice and soft. Those are my favorite.
They're all good.
Yeah, sometimes simple is the best, Okay, so did you ever go visit Santa Claus as a young lad in a store or a mall?
I don't have any memories of getting bundled up and kind of having the Christmas story experience of going and waiting in line and doing that. We had a lot of church parties growing up, and so I did have an opportunity to sit on Santa's lap, but it was more at the end of an evening of carols and having food and whatnot with the congregation. It was never, okay, we're gonna go see Santa and actually get photos. That I think the first time we ever did that was a few years ago with my children for Bass Pro. I'd never actually gone to the mall, but I grew up seeing Santa, and because of how often our church liked to host parties and things, we were often invited to other congregations as well, because we just all love to go to each other's parties. So I saw Santa a few times, and I remember on one occasion I was trying to find Santa, and I asked him if I could pull down his beard because he had an obviously fake acrylic beard. And he said, "No. Would you like a tickle me amlo?" And I said, "No, I would like to pull down your beard for Christmas." And he said, "Get to the back of the line." And so I went through the line 2 or 3 times, and when there was nobody else left, he let me pull down his beard, and I didn't recognize him. So it was kind of an evening wasted. There was a cool magician though, but yeah, I didn't recognize him. So yeah.
Did that traumatize you, his beard coming off?
No, I mean, I could tell it was fake. It was acrylic. It is the kind that, you barely see the nose and you see the eyes, and you're like, are you even human under there? And it just, you knew it couldn't be Santa Claus, because Santa Claus has a good looking beard, and he was wearing boot toppers. And if Santa Claus came to visit, he would be wearing actual boots, not just some vinyl stuff over some loafers. But that was just me as a kid being the detective trying to figure things out.
Yes, and as I mentioned earlier before we came on the air, you have one of the better looking looks as a Santa when you're in full garb and you have your beard and your hair set on. Fantastic look, Stuart, and you look authentic to the bone.
Thank you, sir. A lot of work, a lot of trial and error.
Now, Stuart, we all have other passions in our lives. Can you tell us a little bit about your tribute band, the Beatles, and more recently, your passion for filmmaking, acting, teaching, and share with us about you acquiring your dream guitar?
That's a story I'm hoping will end tonight. Let's start at the beginning. Kind of the Ed Sullivan Show came on in the 60s, and kind of the world was struck with Beatlemania at that point. Now, I was not born in the 60s. The closest thing I ever really had a relationship to the Beatles was some old tapes that we had brought over from England, and my dad was English. So, I was like, well, the Beatles are English. My dad was English. I should enjoy the Beatles. Um, and it never really bit. I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and there was a tribute band called 1964 The Tribute, and they started in 1984, so 20 years after the Beatles, and they started doing this before the internet was a thing. So the guy who played John, he's still with the band, and he actually built most of the guitars that they used so that they could nail the sound, the look. They wore the tuxedos, and it was just, they went the whole 9 yards. And they had been doing it for about 20 years or so when I first saw them, and they came to our little college town of Rexburg, because their demographic was college kids, because everybody loved the Beatles. And my mom was a college student at the time, and we went, and it was absolutely amazing. They came back 2 years later, and I was bit, and I just absolutely love seeing these people play live. And so for me, 1964 The Tribute and that concert experience was my Ed Sullivan experience, as to many people around the world. And I've stayed in touch with them. I'm hoping to see them later this year. They are just going and going and going. These people have been doing it for almost 40 years now, and there's no chance of slowing down. And so when I was getting into drums and bought a guitar with my paper route money, I was like, well, I would like to be in a tribute band. I'd like to play music and things. So in high school, I tried to put together a little tribute band for a talent show, and we didn't have any of the instruments. We had awful mop top wigs and suits. And I asked the other guys in the band. I said, "Hey, we're only playing like 2 songs. What should we call ourselves?" And they said the Beatles, which is really awful for search engine optimization. Whenever you type in Beatles, it autocorrects to the Beatles. And we played one song, and everyone went crazy and demanded an encore. And we hadn't rehearsed the second song, so it didn't matter. People were screaming, but we played the second one, and from there it kind of took off. I had hope for it. I bought a drum set that kind of matched the look of Ringo's. Got some replica guitars from China, because I wasn't going to spend a few grand on each guitar, each authentic piece of gear. And I went on a 2-year service mission in California, and when I came back, I got a lot of the bandmates back together. We replaced some different members when they went off to do their own thing, but we tried playing in Rexburg and the surrounding areas. I don't think we played a gig outside of Idaho, but we went to Twin Falls and it was very cold with the drums in the back, and we're driving our little Ford Explorer. But now Finally, after working with Santa Claus and perhaps trying to, and I've sold a lot of the gear that I bought because I amassed everything. I'm now able to get an actual guitar that one of the Beatles played. So that's my dream guitar. And as of right now, FedEx has yet to deliver it. It just got through customs yesterday. It was stuck there for about a week and a half. So I'm hoping that by 8 o'clock, there's a knock on the door. Because if not, it should be here tomorrow. But I really want it and start putting on those old flat wound strings. But while I went to college, that's when I started doing Santa Claus, the Beatles again, around that same time. And I went to school for film. I wanted to be an actor, but I realized if I was an actor, I'd probably be a starving actor. So I decided to hire my friends who were starving actors. And I really love making films and doing short projects and videos and graphics and stuff. And so now I've got a 4-year degree, but because we moved here during the pandemic, I'm still waiting for my resume to pan out. I've been applying to jobs like mad. So in the meantime, I've just been applying my video skills to Santa Claus, my performing skills to Santa Claus, and making content to kind of just share my journey as what I've learned, Googling and finding stuff online that'll help performers around the world, no matter if they can attend a Santa university or a school or not.
What Beatle played that guitar that you're getting?
Oh, it was John. They always say, "Oh, Stu, you look a bit more like Paul." And I said, "I'm not going to learn how to play left-handed bass or drums as good as Ringo or lead guitar like George. I will be John. John played rhythm. That's just chords." So I'm getting a Rickenbacker 325 C58 that was made in 2002, and it's shipping from England, even though it was made in America. So somebody bought it. Now, trying to get it through customs, even though it's American made. It's I'm hoping. I'd like to have an actual guitar. All mine are knockoffs.
That's pretty cool. Well, you mentioned Santa Claus. What influences did you have to become a professional Santa Claus? And tell us about the first time you performed as Santa and what you learned from that experience.
I remember as a child in third grade, I got my first Santa suit. It was just one of those sweaters you get from Walmart, like the jogging, sweat top. And my mom sewed fur onto it, and it hadn't been sewed in the middle because I had her put two things of fur because I had to be able to open. But I wore that for my third grade photo for school. And as a kid, I'd always get in the shopping cart and ho ho ho, what would you like for Christmas? And getting in the back of the car, shouting the names of the reindeer. But I hadn't actually performed as a professional Santa Claus until 2016. And the summer before, I had started to repair Medium, the rocking horse. And as I was kind of thinking back on all the memories I had associated with this rocking horse, I thought of my poppy and my father and just everything that had to do with that was good when I was a kid, just everything that I had happy memories about. And we had a little bit extra money. So along with saving up for Beatles instruments, my wife allowed me to get a Santa suit, and I didn't want to have one of those awful gnarly beards. The synthetic ones, never cut it, and I was never going to wear boot toppers. Not acceptable. The kids deserve the best, so Santa should offer the best that he can. And I knew, for Tim Allen, they had worn something. He didn't actually grow a beard straight out of his face. So I knew there was something out there that I could use, but I wasn't connected in the Santa Claus community enough to know what was going on in Idaho. I had no Santa Claus friends on Facebook. I had no idea, no money to go to a school, nothing. It was just kind of me Googling hours and hours, and I found some lace-backed human hair sets. And so I was able to get a beard and a mustache and bleached my hair and my eyebrows for the first 3 years until I made enough to get a set from Maggie. And so that first season, I've got this lace back beard. It's not styled very well. I've got this suit that I just bought for $50. It doesn't fit, but I've got, vinyl boots with the zipper on the side. I'm like, I at least got that right. And it was for our church congregation. And my wife and I had just been married the year before. And so it was that first season was really awful because we only did it for exposure and people to cover gas. And so we got shorted. A lot of the time they like, oh, you waited for an hour, here's $5 more. So that first time that was for our congregation, we were just doing it for free, and it was just around the corner, so we didn't charge for gas or anything. And people had heard, oh, Stuart and his wife are going to be Santa and Mrs. Claus, yada yada. But as soon as we walked in and everybody turned and looked, there was a lot of eyes widening from my peers and people I went to Sunday school with, and they're just like, wait a minute, holy moly, And I know I didn't look as good as I do now, of course, but it was much better than the Santa Clauses I had seen in the area where, they just kept the suit in the closet and they're like, who can be Santa this year? Here, Phil, put this on. What? I don't want, put it on, put the pillow in. It was a very different experience. Actually, you could see Santa's face. You could see the expressions. Mrs. Claus was there, very young, with beautiful white hair and sparkles. And I remember as I sat down, a kid just ran out of the audience who had sat in front of us at church for weeks and weeks and weeks. Her name was Emmy. And she just launched herself at me like a spider and just grabbed onto my belly. She must have been 2.5, 3 years old. And her mom came up to me and said, she's been scared of Santa until this year. And my wife told me later on, some girls were coming up to her and talking to her, and it was the bishop's children. And the bishop's wife had told my wife they weren't scared of Mrs. Claus because you were so beautiful. And so it was a very kind of breakthrough moment of us that we could change the mold. And my wife doesn't perform professionally. She doesn't do this other than, please, honey, come along for one gig, just so that I can say we've been going for so many years together. But it's been amazing. And that first gig led to more and more. And the bishop had me back even after we moved out of that congregation. They had me back. Last year I was in Idaho. I've only had one family, though, I've done visits with every single year. And the last 3, I think we've had to do virtual, but it's been a wild ride. I now have suits I've made. I've done some other things just because I don't have the budget. I didn't have the budget to go out and spend an arm and a leg. So it's been a very big learning process, because the first 3 years of my 5, now 6-year career, I had no idea there was even an online Santa Claus community. I knew about Charles W. Howard School, everybody that pops up when you Google Santa School, but there was no way as a college kid I could spend hundreds of dollars for the tuition, for going and attending and taking off work. Like, it was just not feasible. I'm hoping someday I can, because now I've been able to attend some other schools, and it's been absolutely wonderful. I'm very, very blessed to be here in Texas, where there is such a wide range of not just Santa Claus members, but also diversity and people you can talk to. It's been very lovely to be here.
That's true. And we all have to, stay within our means, you might say. So as long as you get it done and enjoy what you're doing and are good at it. And those are all strong points for you. Okay. So at this point, let's take a little short breather here, because it's time in the Tuesday Night Live show to take a break for a special product announcement. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this. Well, stop the show. It's time for the Tuesday Night Live Showstopper Special. And for this week's StopperSanta.com Showstopper Special, we're going to go straight to me, because Spangle is AOW this week and not available. So he passed this along to me. He wants to run tonight's Showstopper Special is his real nice star badge that he developed. It is a North Pole Inspector's badge, similar to the other ones that we sell. It's in a black ID holder. One side you have your ID, a clear window for your ID. The other side you have the round. It's like a Texas sheriff's badge in essence. And those are $75 on the website, $8 shipping. For the Tuesday Night Live Show Special, on sale tonight for $40, free shipping. And it's, like I said, a black holder. The badge does come in 2 colors, silver and or gold. And this special is good through next Monday, February 14th. So if anyone is interested in getting one of those, that's a heck of a discount, I got to tell you. Contact Spangle and tell him that you heard it here on the Tuesday Night Live show.
It's a beautiful badge.
You are watching the Tuesday Night Live show with Bob, Barry, and Angela. Sponsored by StuffForSanta.com and SchoolOfSantas.com, where you can find everything you need to support your Santa and Mrs. Claus business. Remember, if Spangle ain't got it, it doesn't exist. So contact Spangle at StuffForSanta.com today. Now back to the show.
All right, again, since Bangle's gone, I'll take this segment. And this is Bangle's question, and we realize it's a tough question. Not sure if anyone will even get this answer. It is Googleable, if there's a word such as that, but you can find the answer on Google if you put the right search words in. In a book published in 1982, and it was a copywritten book, it was said that Mrs. Claus' first name was what? Now, there's been a lot of different books that's been printed through the years, different names that have appeared for Mrs. Claus, but we're looking for a specific name from a copywritten book in 1982. It's a fairly popular book. I hadn't really heard of it until recently, and Barry hadn't either. But according to some of the other Santas that we've talked to, that book has been out there for some time. It has some interesting stories in it.
Anybody got a guess?
I know, like I said, you're
Not Susan. Stuart's got the book right there. Good job, buddy.
That's the book. Stuart's got it right there. That is the one.
It's got some great illustrations, just like some great story building stuff. Santa Bruce Kotowich recommended this. He's got a lot of books, but he was just like, if you want to know about Santa, this is a very fun book, and it's not even sequential. It's just stories. Each chapter is a different thing, something you can. It's like a manual for Santa Claus. It's a book.
Yes, it's been around a long time, and it's only $20 on Amazon. I looked at this afternoon, was going to purchase one. I didn't, but I'm going to. Margaret is not correct.
Not correct.
That is not correct. In that book that Stuart just showed us is the book that it's in. There's a lot of copywritten material in there. There are some sections, if you look on a Google search, that will be excluded because they are copywritten, but this was not part of the actual part that was missing. It was there.
Yep. I never even heard of the name before.
Les Lynn, not Holly either. And Stuart just showed the chapter that it's in also.
I can't believe nobody's guessed Jessica from Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yeah, that was usually the name that most people pop up, and a few others. We know this one's going to be hard, so you guys keep researching, and if you come up with the answer, we'll get F. Angela to pop it up in the window, and we'll come back to it. So we don't want to kill too much time. We got a lot to cover here with Stuart. So back over to you, Barry.
Well, Stuart, let's talk about some more of your favorite topics. What influences do you think the movie series The Santa Claus has had on the Santa community, especially in reference to costumes, beards, and makeup?
Well, I think just looking at the limited edition of Santa Claus films, there's lots of Christmas films that are out there, but really until we had the Christmas Chronicles or the newer movies in this century, we really only had Miracle on 34th Street and then Santa Claus the movie kind of giving us this idea of Santa Claus, and then suddenly we get Tim Allen, and they totally revolutionized everything. No longer does he look like Santa's just wearing a department store suit with the buckle, up in the mid chest. It looked like a very functional costume, very authentic. And when I first joined the Santa Claus community, I was pleased to see that there was lots of replicas of, or rather, buckles inspired by Tim Allen's Santa Claus buckle, though none look exactly like his. And I think that's probably a one-off that they've used in each of the films. Same with the little buckles on his boots. But it kind of showed us. The costumers did such a good job. It provided a different take on elves, on Santa Claus. He doesn't have to have fur down the middle or just buttons. He can have no buttons or fur down the middle. He could have little fur balls. He could have the fur can come up to the belt, and it just the boots didn't have to just be black with fur. They could fold over. It was very, very cool the way that they brought this world to life. Same with the sleighs, and with the traditional beards, I don't think we saw anything that amazing and wonderful in that high definition until that film came out. You have Mrs. Santa Claus with Angela Lansbury that was made for television around the same time. They used the same sleigh, and the Santa Claus is wearing a traditional set, and it looks a bit more cartoonish, but it's it was just this whole new chapter we see in traditional beards being backed on lace, and being in the last 10 years, because of Maggie at ZM Hair, they've become more affordable for the beginner Santa. It's been absolutely wonderful. And I think we can kind of look back at the Santa Claus and just being like, that was a good look. And really, Miracle on 34th Street, the remake from 1994, it was very much those things, the I Believe, the buttons with the reindeer. We kind of look to the mid 90s for this all really good stuff that we can pull from. And decades from now, I'm sure Santas who grew up with the Christmas Chronicles and other Santa films that are coming out, and now with the Tim Allen Santa Claus series being now made on Disney Plus, we're going to have more material and more things to look back on. So I'm really excited. I wish there were more Santa Claus films. I love Christmas films, but I want more films about Santa so I can enjoy the costuming and just see how things are progressing in the community. It's absolutely wonderful to trace them back.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the Tim Allen series that's going to be coming up. I'm just curious to see how that's going to work out, what updates they've made.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Miracle on 34th Street was always kind of the go-to in the earlier years. And then once the series with Tim Allen came out, it kind of changed everything. It brought it up to, like you say, a more modern aspect of Santa. Now, something I take from that movie, children at the mall are constantly asking me, what is the North Pole like? What does it look like? And I just tell them, I say, to be honest with you, that film was made at the North Pole. So if you want to see what the North Pole looks like, go visit the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen, and you'll see exactly, because that was where it was filmed. And, you got a good point about the Chronicles, how that has changed. There's already quite a few guys that's gone into trying to buy or have a different seamstress. Heather Gabriel down in Singing Seamstress Houston is one that's made quite a few of those. All right, Stuart. So being knowledgeable and rehearsed in the origins and history of Christmas and Santa Claus is a must in creating an authentic backstory in one's portrayal as a performing actor of the red suit. Share with us one or two of the most important aspects you use in your portrayal, and talk about how you approach these in your teachings and your workshops.
I think there's something to be said about knowing Santa's place in the world culturally and historically. When I started out portraying Santa, I just thought, oh, Santa's been here for, hundreds of years. Everybody knows him around the world. And having done research and understanding that Santa Claus is fairly new and kind of a culmination of a lot of different legends and sources, I can take that and be a bit more sensitive when I'm visiting individuals of different cultures or different ethnicities. I can ask them as Santa Claus, oh, I'm here to bring you presents now. Back, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Russia. Oh, so you have Dead Moreau's there. Oh, yes. And what is he like? It's been a while since I've visited my cousin, and just kind of talk. And the parents love it that I'm not just shoving Santa Claus down their throat. Just like he's all over the world. He was English. No, he's Father Christmas. He was German. That's Saint Nicholas. He was Sinterklaas. We have and Three Kings in Portugal and Spain. We just have just knowing about the different cultures and the different gift givers around the world, and knowing how Santa Claus is part of a bigger team, not the head honcho big cheese. He is in America, but just being a bit more sensitive to the different cultures allows me to bond with the families more, because I understand that Santa Claus isn't a universal, traditionally a universal figure. He's very much a creation of the United States in the late half of the 19th century.
That's very true. And real quick, Barry, before we go on, we want to go back to the trivia question. Our brother Ron McLam got that one correct. It's misspelled, but we'll take it. It's Anwyn, and win. And that comes out of that book that Stuart held up and showed everyone. If you don't have a copy of that, again, it's available over on Amazon. And as Stuart said, got great stories in it and some great illustrations too. Great book to have. All right, back over to you, Barry.
All right, Stuart. Charles Dickens and Washington Irving are by far the two of the biggest contributors to our modern day Christmas traditions. Both Dickens and Irving's biggest contributions to Christmas in America was their promotion of St. Nicholas. Tell us what both men's writing has meant to you as a performing actor, and what have you taken and incorporated into your Santa portrayal or teachings?
Washington Irving was the first author to make a living by his writings. It was unheard of beforehand. He was the kind of the baby of the family, so he went around writing, and kind of like Benjamin Franklin, he published papers and wrote for newspapers, and he actually got paid for it, and he made his living that way. He spent a few years in England, and we have to understand at the beginning of the 1800s that America's fairly new. They've just declared independence. They're trying to find themselves. They don't have very many holidays because they don't want to celebrate any of the holidays that England has because they're very different. And Washington Irving kind of makes himself this hero. He tells stories of the Dutch in Knickerbocker's History of New York, which is the most amazing advertising campaign I've ever read about. Washington Irving, as a young man, published this book. It was a faux history of it was a romanticized version of the history of New York, from the Dutch point of view, and how they had Saint Nicholas on the front of their ship, not the actual Saint Nicholas, but a wooden figurine, and he led them to land. And the way he published this manuscript was he put ads in the papers and said, "Hey, I'm this innkeeper. This old Dutch man has left this manuscript. Has anybody found him?" So for a good couple months, people were looking for Dietrich Knickerbocker and saying, "Where is this old man? He needs his." And the innkeeper's fine. He says, I'm going to publish this manuscript just to pay for his bill that he owes us. And so when the book came out, everybody was like, "What is this old Dutch man been writing about?" And it's the same pseudonym that we get the legends of Sleepy Hollow as well as Rip Van Winkle from. It's this very big culmination of history at the time and a lot of embellishments. And it doesn't mention St. Nicholas all too often, only that he is very important to the Dutch, and that there was a vision that one had when they were settling the Hudson River, and it was of St. Nicholas with his flying wagon over the trees, showing them where to go. No mention of reindeer at all. And that was it. And people ran, well, St. Nicholas and this, St. Nicholas that. And many years later, when Dickens comes to America, Washington Irving actually hosts him he invites him and his wife to stay with him for a few days. And so it's kind of almost this passing of the torch. Now, Washington Irving had written some short stories while he was in England as part of a Geoffrey Crayon's sketchbook, as of a gentleman. He wrote some very short stories, and they're absolutely beautiful, about what Christmas was like at an old country manor house in England. And so he's publishing these books and sending them back home, and people are reading this about this wonderful Christmas time. And again, he's romanticizing the idea, he's embellishing it a lot, but he's making Christmas seem more appealing. And so people in America start to, well, we need this, we need that, of course we need the Christmas pudding, of course we need the turkey and the goose, and singing carols and doing this and that, and the mistletoe. He talks about how the mistletoe was meant only to be used until it couldn't be used anymore. And the way you would use that mistletoe is every time you kiss underneath, you're supposed to pick out one of the berries, and once all the berries are gone, you can't kiss underneath the mistletoe anymore. And I was like, this is amazing. I didn't know this was, part of history. We kind of forgotten about that little fact, but it is part of history. And when Dickens comes over, he kind of passes the torch, because this was before he wrote A Christmas Carol or very many of his Christmas stories. And Dickens goes back from his tour of America and he writes A Christmas Carol. Again, nothing about St. Nicholas, but again about the morals and the goodwill that Christmas can be about. He talks about the ghost of Christmas present, of past, of how Scrooge can become different. And this revolutionized Christmas. And a few years later, we get the Christmas tree from Queen Victoria and her cousin and husband, Prince Albert. And we get just everybody gobbling at this Christmas that we just love. And we get Santa Claus with all these different figures from the drawings of Charles Nast and Clement Seymour, the night before Christmas, a visit from St. Nicholas. And it really was this big push of movement that was started by Washington Irving and really carried by Dickens, until we get the culmination of all the Coca-Cola and the films, Miracle on 34th Street, to the present day, without Washington Irving writing a little, story about how important St. Nicholas was to the Dutch. That tradition of St. Nicholas wouldn't probably have transcribed as well as it did to culture in America. And it's just fantastic to read the books and to see what did they know of Santa Claus back in the day? Because we didn't even have Christmas cards until well after Dickens had published A Christmas Carol, by probably a good 40 years. It's just they had Christmas carols, but no Christmas cards. They used to hang apples and popcorn on the tree. They didn't have baubles. They did fruit. And it's just interesting to see how far we've come in the last 170 years since then. It's absolutely fantastic to study the history. I love it.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was quite an evolutionary period there that we went through during that time period, and has molded what we know as modern day traditions and Santa Claus. And for those who think that, and we hear this a lot about schools, and this is a good point to jump in with this. Some guys don't think that schools are necessary. They think that you can learn by the seat of your pants and just get the job and ho, ho, ho. Thank you, Johnny. Come back next year type of thing. But as you learn, the more you're in this industry, the more you figure out that there's a whole lot more to it. And the backstories are very important. And so we're going to jump into this right here. Share with our audience about your workshops, because your the things that you have just been talking about shows the level of effort that you put into starting your workshops up, the different levels of membership and benefits, as well as your mission statement, and how and where can they sign up if they're interested.
I started what's called the Junior Claus Workshop because I felt, my degree is in communication, emphasis in video production, and for my senior project, I started prepping and doing some things, and the semester or two before, they'd asked me to develop a brand. So I was like, I love Santa Claus. I'm going to make some tutorial videos. I did some things on YouTube. They're atrocious now to look back on, but I called it the Junior Claus Workshop, not because I'm Stuart Deacon Jr., but because it was, I didn't feel at the time that it was everything you could learn. And I still think there is something to say about going to schools in person. And the more you learn about Santa Claus, the more you learn that going to schools in person, fellowshipping with others, and learning instruction really shows the effort of humility and going in there with an open mind, which I think having open eyes and open ears is very much something you should do as a Santa Claus. But if you can't afford to go to a school or to take off from work, like I'm still sort of in that situation until, summer break or spring break, I really can't, afford to take off and go anywhere. I decided to make kind of a place where you could access material year round. And so now that's grown from the Junior Claus Workshop to the Santa Claus Workshop. And there's 3 levels of paid membership, and there you can be a free member as well and access a lot that's on the site. The first tier is called the Santa Helper, and this is for people who are serious about being Santa Claus, not just some people who Googled how to be Santa Claus and stuff. They're willing to put up a small amount to learn. And for a whole year, the cost is $35 to get access to about 2 hours worth of short tutorials, how to polish boots, take care of belts, measure belts. And a lot of these videos, I was able to interview people in the Santa Claus community and to get their feedback and their professional takes on, hey, if you're just starting out, this knowledge is golden, start here. The next level of membership is the Santa Apprentice, and that is also for a year. And it's about $100, and you get everything that's included in the previous tier, but you get about 3.5 hours more of professional produced content. Last year I went through and I did a lot of episodes, about 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes long, interviewing other Santa Clauses, getting performers advice, doing tutorials on how to do this and that, what has worked for me. Again, this is not something that will replace a school in person. This is something, if you would like to learn from the comfort of your home, this is something you can subscribe to for a year and have access to for a year, instead of, trying to take notes or film everything in a weekend and trying to remember it all. It's very much a baptism of fire. This is to kind of get you up to speed, so that when you do attend a gathering or a school in person, you know what you're looking for, you know what you're there to get, and you're able to fellowship and take things from there. We also offer a lot of different courses. Number one is a virtual video technology course that we have, the Santa Claus Video Work course. That's going on our second time now. We'll be meeting tomorrow for our second week of our second run, and we do different courses and things. A lot is still in the works since it is a new platform. But when you are a member of the third tier, the Santa Ambassador plan, hi Mel, you are automatically enrolled in everything, and you have the option of attending those courses and those classes no matter how often they are throughout the year. They're included in that membership plan, and that's $245. Or you can just enroll in the courses as they come. I've had people enroll for the $135 video course just here and there, but as an ambassador, you get access to that stuff year round. You get discounts in the store, you get video assets, graphics, just tutelage from a video technology and performer side to kind of pick my brain, and that's it pays for itself, and it's very, very lovely to have this little community and platform in which I can share what I have learned, and they find it valuable, even though I am very young. People are, how can you be Santa Claus? You don't even have a beard. Well, the issue is if I'm trying to grow one, I look like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. So I'm trying to see how far I can grow this before I need to put on the lace set, because sometimes it gets in the way. But it's a very lovely project of mine. I'm very passionate about it. And our mission statement is just to to provide affordable Santa Claus education, no matter where you are around the world, so long as you've got an internet connection. So you don't have to travel, you don't have to fly anywhere. We've got members from Ireland, the UK, the Middle East, Russia, United States, very heavy. But I've even had a member contact me, and he's from up north, over in Europe. It's either Sweden or the Netherlands. I'm bad at geography, and I should be better because I'm Santa Claus. But he asked me, "Hey, I don't. You've got these Tim Allen inspired Santa Claus letterhead for the naughty and nice list. I have some additional characters for my native tongue. Could you do that for me?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I was able to check with him. Are these the proper characters that I'm putting on here? Because I don't read the language. And he's like, "Yes, those are right." And I was able to send those off to him. So I'm very much here to just help and provide. And I love the Santa Claus workshop, and I hope to offer, just long after I'm gone, I hope to have this platform be self-sustaining so that people can still have these videos and tutelage, and they don't have to fly or go for a crash course for a weekend every now and again if they can't afford it.
Very well said, and your passion shows, and I highly recommend getting with Stuart and trying to get in at some level. As you can tell from the interview tonight, this young man has done his homework and has so much to offer to the Santa community. And that is www.thesantaschool.com, correct?
That is correct. It used to be Junior Claus Workshop, but when we rebranded to the Santa Claus Workshop was already taken, as was Santa School. And I thought, I really like the Santa Claus. I'm going to have it called the Santa School. So that's the only reason.
And this is why we were so excited in having you as a guest tonight. Something me and Barry's been looking forward to for weeks now, and we all share the same passion here. Okay, let's move on to the next one, Stuart. As a young Santa actor, you are such an inspiration to all of us, but especially the next generation who will look up to you. What advice would you share with others who may want to break into the red suit as a young, inspiring Santa?
I don't think there is such a thing as enough preparation. I feel that at least growing up, the Santa Clauses I saw were the kind that, hey, we've got the suit, put it on, just go out and do it. And, kids notice the little things. Some children won't notice the faux boot covers. They won't notice the belt or the beard. That's awful. But there will be some kids that do. And if there's anything I can pass along, is try and be the Santa you would have liked to see, interact with, or visit with when you were a kid. And you can't go wrong.
Good words. Barry?
Yeah, Stuart, in the last couple of years, due to the virus, many have turned to doing virtual visits. Doing virtual can require editing of your video recordings. Can you relate and share some video production tips and tricks, or talk about your videos for occasions, and how do you approach the virtual visits, maybe lighting and sound wise too?
All right, everybody, we're going to be here for the next 4 hours. We're going to do a crash course on my video course. No, I'm joking. I'll give you 3 words of it, 3 things to consider. I don't have enough time to get into all the details, but the 3 things that really make or break the technical side. Performing is a whole nother thing, and you have to adapt that for a virtual space. But for technical wise, for doing virtual visits, you need to have good audio. If you don't have an external microphone or something that's very close to your mouth, it's going to sound very boxy. I've got this microphone, and it's as close as it can be to my mouth without being in the frame of the camera. Second thing is, if you're using the camera, don't have it up very high, don't have it very low. If you have it up too high, you get kind of Santa's forehead, and he looks like he's looking, hello, I'm very short. If you have it too down low, you get Santa Claus looking very big. And if you have it, just off center, you got Santa Claus looking like he's he's an elf and he's going to fall out of the frame. Start at eye height level, and then perhaps raise or lower it depending on your set and what you're looking at. You want to be looking, you want to become approachable, but yet intimate, because we're no longer having the child on our knee. You got to still have that connection though. So make sure this looks good, you're framed right, you've got good audio. And for lighting, if you're going to start off with something other than an overhead, the best starting position for a light is at 45, 45, 45. What I mean is you're going to put the stand not 90 degrees, you're going to put it at 45 degrees, and then you're going to raise it 45 degrees so it's not dead on you. It's up there, and then you're going to point it down 45 degrees. So on all axes, 45, 45, 45. And that's how you get a good, you don't want it to be completely flat, but off to the side you get a bit more shadow. It looks a bit more welcoming, and you get a bit more depth. Is that a shotgun mic? Yes, but I'm out of shells. There you go.
Oh, very good. Great. Barry, you got any follow up on that?
No, I don't. Just great tip, Stuart. Thank you.
Okay, so you had mentioned earlier, Stuart, about Santa wardrobe. Suit making is something that a lot of people probably doesn't realize, but you may have made most of all your own costuming. You said it was due to cost, but I got to tell you, brother, you did an excellent job on everything I've seen that you have is right up there. So can you give us a few tips or talk about that for just a moment?
It took me, my first suit, I really got sick of having the sleeves too short, no matter how big of a size you got off the rack, eBay, YouTube, not YouTube, but the website, Google, they just didn't have long enough sleeves. And the belt loops were always on the sides where the seams were, and they could never hold up the buckle, and they weren't long enough for my belly. So it made me look very uncomfortable, and I didn't like that, and I really wanted a Tim Allen suit. So I got the McCall's pattern for a Santa suit. McCall's pattern, it was for a robe, or you could use it for a suit. And so I was able to kind of make a demi version out of really cheap fabric and be like, hey, how long do I want it, and mark it. And then I was able to adjust the pattern because of that. And thank you, Bob, for saying it looks great. And that's only because you haven't seen them in person. They're by far falling apart. The zipper's not on there straight, but it looks all right. It was a bit of an upgrade from that. I wouldn't advise going out and making a suit just right off the bat until you know what you want. Use some cheap fabric to kind of see, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is how long I need this. Get a good fur, a good faux fur or real fur, whatever you're going to use. It takes a lot of time to research. I spent 2.5 years choosing my fur and my fabric. I decided to go with velveteen just because of cost. It's way cheaper than just plain velvet. And I would get old rugs, faux sheepskin rugs off overstock.com. And I would take hair clippers and I would shave it down to the inch length I wanted instead of, the 2.5 it was. I wanted a very certain look. And because of that, I was able to craft some different things. And I've got these suits that are very special to me. I've got the belt loops on the right way. I'm able to understand sewing and appreciate it more. But in the meantime, I didn't look like I had just taken it off the rack or gotten it from a very cheap site, but I didn't look super professional. But it was enough so that I could earn funds to buy a professional suit. And now I've got Pro Santa Shop on my list once he's got some slots opening up next year, Doug Eberhardt. But right now I'm on the list for a suit from Santa's tailor, Bill Dendy, who has been in a few of our episodes and is just the most wonderful and insightful historical tailor. He just knows what you want, what you need, breathable fabric. So I'm hoping, because I'm down here in Texas, it'll be much more comfortable and something I can have and cherish, and it will last much longer than these ones I've got in the closet that the fur is just all falling off. But yeah, don't make them unless you have to.
You can't go wrong with Bill's stuff. His stuff is top notch, and lucky enough, us being in Texas, him being here in the North Texas area, he's accessible for us really easy. But if you don't know Bill, get out to the Lone Star Santos Roundup coming up here pretty quick, and he will also be at some of the other major events. And check his vendor's booth out and look at the quality of the suits that he makes. They are phenomenal. Okay, so let's talk about your upcoming presentations at Santa Schools 2022. We know you've got a couple on the list. You're going to be at Doug's Pro Santa School and at Spangle's School of Santas. You want to talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, I'd like to pick your guys' brain. Spangle came up to me at Lone Star Roundup last year, and just out of the blue, as Spangle does, You want to come talk at my school for like an hour and a half? Oak School of Santas in Branson, Missouri? Yeah. Sure. What about? Anything you want. And then he walked off. And so I've been sweating bullets over here because I've never been to School of Santas. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what they're expecting of me. So I'm hoping I have some ideas. Perhaps I could talk about Washington Irving and Charles Dickens and the history a bit more because I really, really love that. And that's something I can share. I don't feel, I have enough experience to be like, this works every single time and this is how you style a beard. No, by far. But if anybody has any ideas, I think we've got a chat running. What if you are going to Branson for the School of Santas? Let me know some topics you'd be interested in hearing about. I think Spangle has me on his site as just you can like how to be a Santa on a budget, which I can talk about. But I think that there's more to it than just that. I think knowledge is very much free. When it comes to doing research. So maybe that's part of being a budget Santa. I don't know. Drop some comments if you guys have any ideas, but I'm very nervous about that. Last year, I was able to go to Pro Santa school, Doug Eberhardt's school, and he had me present on video. Gave a crash course on that lovely small group. I think 25 people tops. It was really good, really intimate, and I really, really loved it. It was wonderful, and I had a lot of people enroll in the Santa Claus video work course that happened a few weeks after that because of how much they were interested in the video discussion I gave. It was very much baptism by fire, but I had a lot of fun doing it and look forward to working with Doug in the future. He was the first person to reach out to me in the Santa Claus community when I asked, hey, I'm doing these videos on YouTube. You guys have anything you'd like to send me and I can, showcase? Because I don't have any really good buckles or anything. And he sent me some Santa bells and some belts. He sent me like a few $100 worth of stuff and said, hey, showcase this. And I told them where to get it. And these are really good bells and brass bells and steel bells. And then he paid for return shipping and I sent it back. And we've just kind of kept up ever since. He's been a wonderful asset to the Santa Claus community. He's got all sorts of suits. He's a lovely gentleman. Pro Santa school, Pro Santa shop. Can't recommend them enough.
Whatever you just decide to teach and everything, you'll do a great job at it. And now is the time where if you want to put questions and comments up here for Stuart, pop them in.
Yes, and real quick on Spangle's School of Santas. We taught there 3 years ago, me and Gordon Bailey with Sat Bob's. And then I am one of Spangle's helpers. Me and my wife help him and Daisy May put that on behind the scenes, legwork mainly. But anyway, he'll have over 100 Santas and Mrs. Clauses there. It'll be a great venue for you. And I love the idea of you doing you're going to be great. I love the idea of the Washington Irving and going into that with more depth. I think that would be a big hit. Because, again, that is really important in the Santa community to know the background and know the history.
All right. Is there any questions or comments for Stuart right now? Now's the time to put them in there.
Speak now or forever.
Yeah, again, Stuart, I agree with Bob. The history that you gave us there, I mean, it's brilliant. If you do what you did on this show, it'll be a big hit. It'd be worth the people's money going to it just to hear that.
I'll tell you, it was awful because I work as a substitute teacher. They've got me at the COVID testing site for the district. I showed up. They're like, go to the testing site. They need you there. I was like, ooh, for 2 weeks. They're like, yeah, they'll pay you. I was like, oh, good. I went to the Proctor students and everybody's wearing face masks. And I was like, oh, not this kind of testing center. So I've been there since September, but towards Christmas, they started having less and less people come in. Now we're fully swamped because after Christmas, everybody wants to be tested. Very positive. But I had a lot of extra time and I got really, really tired. So I read through the Old and New Testament. I read through a lot of other books and I was like, I should see if I could read some of Washington Irving. So I'm reading this sketchbook, trying even the stories that aren't about Christmas, Dickens works even that aren't about Christmas. I'm just trying to get through them and I still have to finish Dickens. But it was really interesting to see, to read Dietrich Knickerbocker's History of New York and to experience it. And then he makes some throwbacks to it in Legend of Sleepy Hollow, as well as Rip Van Winkle. But you don't know unless you've read Knickerbocker's History of New York. And it was just really cool to see it all unfold and kind of experience it. Because I was reading them sequentially, kind of, okay, 2 years, this came out, and then this one, just kind of tracing the path because I wanted to have an understanding for myself, kind of a testimony, not somebody telling me this is how it is. I wanted to experience it and be like, okay, now I really do have a great grasp on this.
Now we go into the Knickerbocker Papers and Washington Irving in the Sat Bob School, but I think that you can take that to the next level with what you've told us tonight and with the studies that you've done. Greg has a question for you on the screen there.
It says, what your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the future of Santa virtually? With everything that has happened, I don't think we'll ever go back to being the same as before. We have really passed the threshold. We've seen it in the schools. Learning virtually can be done, and many people prefer it. Learning in person can be done, and many people prefer it, a hybrid of both. And I think Santa Claus virtual visits really have their niche in the market now. Before you had to, we're going to go see Santa at the mall. For the next 4 hours, you had to block off this chunk of time. Get all the kids in the car, bundle them up. We're going to drive. We're going to go. We're going to wait for 2.5 hours. We're going to see Santa for maybe a minute and a half. Get a picture, come home, have some hot chocolate, go to bed. Whereas a virtual visit now, you can stay in the comfort of your home, have hot chocolate, watch a movie. You don't have to get dressed. You don't have to go to the mall. You don't have to wait in line. And you get more time with Santa. And I think the benefits really pay off the cost. It's very much worth it for that certain demographic. You're still going to have people wanting, why is it more than $5 for Santa to do a FaceTime with me? Well, it depends on what tier of production quality you're offering, of course. Is it just a recorded message, or is it actually you're in a full regalia suit? You're doing everything. And I think as we continue on, we're going to see this kind of branch where those who are really good at virtual visits will continue to thrive and do really well in them. And that may be their primary source of income and their activities during the season and off season. And we're going to have some people who really push for in person, and it's going to kind of touch every now and again, but I don't think that we're going to go completely virtual, and I don't think we're ever going to go completely back to in person. I think we've really crossed that threshold, and it's exciting, and I look forward to tackling it every season.
Yeah, I agree. And I got to tell you, Greg is, we had him on the show this last season, and his research and development on virtual backgrounds and that sort of thing is over the top. If you, anyone out there interested in doing virtual, I got to say, Greg is the one to get in contact with. He's probably going to kill me for saying this, but holler at him because he can definitely set you, on a pattern, on a process down the road that will help you in your virtual visits.
He amazes me. I've seen some of this stuff, and he's taken the virtual visits with the green screen. That's his forte. He's taken that and making 3D sets that were it's beyond me. I'm just here to talk about the tech side, but he's got a lot of the back end programming and things going on. So yeah, talk to him. He knows what he's doing.
Melissa had a question up there that was just up there about your children, you being Santa. Have you done it in front of them, and did they recognize you?
Yes and yes. They know I work for Ho-Ho. So they know I dress up as Ho-Ho. And my son, I made him a little suit this last year. It's a miniature of mine. So even down to the buttons, I got the, ratio-wise small for him. So he dresses up and helps Ho-Ho every now and again. But my little one, he's not yet talking in sentences. And when I dressed up as Santa Claus, I come out of the bathroom this last season, he's just like, because we've been watching Christmas movies and he knows. And then I say, Merry Christmas as Santa Claus. And he's like, it's Santa. And then I said in my regular voice, hi, Tom. And he was just like I had broken him. He was just like, wait a minute. So because there's no way, when I started doing this, we were in a 1-bedroom apartment. There's no way I can just go into the bathroom, get ready, and sneak out the door. That's an impossibility. And so they know I help Ho-Ho. This is the Ho-Ho room. It's Dad's studio. Got the Christmas trees up year round. They know I help him. I've got invitations of representation I make. So it's got a wax seal. It says, Dear Stuart, would you be my helper in Conroe, that sort of thing. And so I tell Wesley, Ho-Ho's very busy. He's up there at the North Pole. He's building toys, and I'm going to go help people because Ho-Ho can't make it. So I'm going to make it for him. He's like, oh, I want to see Ho-Ho. So I'm thinking about bringing him to the Lone Star Roundup because he loves everything Santa Claus. And just to walk around to the vendor booths and just to see everything. And I can be like, Ho-Ho's here, but you got to look real careful. And he'll just go crazy. Ho, ho, ho. And even my little boy, Tom, not even 2 yet. And he can go ho, 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 because he absolutely loves it. So it's just part of our family thing now. I'm trying to indoctrinate them. It's just kind of a byproduct of living with somebody who's as eccentric as I am.
Nothing wrong with that. And for folks who have not got to see you do any performance, you have mastered the British accent, of course, being British born. As you said, you was a young child when you left there, but that character, when you get into character, is amazing. Got to commend you there.
Thank you.
Santa Kevin's got a question there.
He says, is OBS a good program to use to stream? Absolutely. It's free. It's versatile. We cover it in my Santa video course. We have a whole week devoted to making sure we've set up everything. And if you think of OBS, if you've used Zoom before, you plug your camera, you plug your microphone in, you're good to go, right? OBS allows you a platform in between, so you can plug in multiple cameras, you can plug in multiple audio sources, and then you just send one of those out. So you can have a picture of me right here, and yet if I was in OBS, I could press a button and it would say, welcome, this is Santa Claus. And you can do that in regular Zoom visits because you just pack all your stuff, all these camera sources out to one virtual camera, and then you pack all your music and your sound and your intros, all that audio out into one audio cable, and it's very easy to use. Once you know the basics, you can do amazing things with it, but really the basics is just, do you need to have like an intro and outro, some graphics, some things like that, and OBS allows you to do that for absolutely free. I strongly suggest anybody who wants to do virtual visits to get tinkering to it, because there is quite a learning curve, but once you pass that, you're like, okay, I know I can do this. Now how can I do it? It's just kind of that hesitation before you jump into a cold pool. But OBS is a very refreshing swim. Very good.
And with the OBS, there's a ton of YouTube videos,
Yes.
tutorials. So if you decide to take that path, go over and research.
Melissa Lynn says, hi, Stuart. Hi, Mel. I know you create magical suspense with your intros and outros. What is one example of how you personally connect with a child on a virtual visit? Mel, I've talked about this in the past, just kind of, virtual visits, boom, you're there. And with the intros and outros, you kind of have it mimics the child waiting in line, ready to see Santa, waiting and looking, oh, there he is. And then the intro ends and there's Santa, instead of just boom, there's Santa. But there is this disconnect virtually between people in the audience and Santa Claus on the screen. And it's really hard to listen because usually they don't have a very good microphone, or they're swinging the phone around. Yeah, Grandma, the Santa's here. The kids are looking at it. The 2-year-old's chewing on the phone, or they're all yelling at each other, and they don't hear Santa Claus, and it's really hard to listen. And because it's timed, you've got other things to do. It's sometimes hard to listen. But when you take that moment and you look in the camera and you picture them there, even though they're on the screen down below, but you put your heart and soul in that and you look at them and you say, it's been so wonderful to chat with you. I hope we can do this again. Merry, Merry Christmas. I hope you have a wonderful year. And just have that heartfelt connection and look into their eyes as if you were looking into the camera, as if you were looking into their eyes. You provide that little bit of yourself. And who knows if they're looking back or if they're running around, but you've given that to them. And if you're recording that, you can send it off to them. But just being there for the child and being able to listen and speak slowly and clearly so that they can understand, I believe that's one of the best ways one can connect virtually. Though we may be miles apart, we can be together in heart.
Great point.
Great question and point, both. AJ Bella says, Stuart, your YouTube videos help me out a lot with me as Santa. Thank you for that. And yes, you do have some of your stuff on YouTube. So if you haven't caught any of Stuart's stuff, go over there and check it out. Phenomenal.
It's all the old stuff. It's awful compared to the new stuff, but it's there for a reason. Because when I was Googling and YouTubing, there was hardly anything. So I thought I'll put a few things on there for you guys to look forward to. But the things on the site absolutely blow the production quality and the length and just everything out of the water, because we've been able to interview most of you in the community. It's fantastic.
Well, Stuart, stay with us because at this point, before we close the show, we have a segment called Santa's Point of View. We use this time to give out teaching tips from our past experiences that we may have had. Would you do us an honor tonight during this spot to give our viewers a short tip or point of view about an experience as Santa, Stuart?
Yes, sir, I will. If you are a theatrical or traditional or designer bearded Santa, I would strongly suggest that after you are done with your show for the night, for your performance, whatever you're doing, virtual visits, that when you take off the beard, be very patient. I know you want to get out of there, and sometimes with adhesive, it can be very, very up in your face and you feel a bit claustrophobic. Take the time to preserve that lace. You can't replace the lace on a set. If you stretch it, it's stretched. So slowly remove it and put everything away before you relax or take a shower, what you're doing. If you get all your ducks in a row and get everything hang up ready, done for the evening and ready to use the next day, or at least clean or prepare, you're in good company.
Great tip. Well, Stuart, on behalf of my co-hosts Santa Bob and Elf Angela, thank you so much for taking time to come on the Tuesday Night Live show and share your expertise and letting your audience get to know you better. Stay with us and we'll chat a little bit in the green room after we close out here. Thank you. All right, people, it's time to invite everyone and share to our weekly Tuesday Night Live broadcast. This here every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. Also, the Bob and Barry Show this Mondays at 3 p.m. where we preview our upcoming guests for the show on Tuesday Night Live, as well as invite and share others to our two Facebook groups, Santa and the Business of Being Santa and Sat Bob's Live.
Stuart, my brother, thank you so much. You've been a fabulous guest, and we also want to thank all of our sponsors, Derek Dugan and Spangle the Clown. Thank everyone for tuning in, giving us the time. We know your time is valuable, as Barry likes to say, and your support means everything to us. And remember, you can catch the recorded replay of this and every Tuesday Night Live show on both our Sat Bob's home group, Santa and the Business Being Santa, and or the Sat Bob's Live group. And before we go, I want to mention real quick, Santa by Parker Custom Buckles. Parker is running a special on those. They were $2.99. They are a high-end custom buckle. They're not for everyone. They resemble a rodeo championship style buckle. We've shown them on here many a time. Everyone, I think, knows what we're talking about. If not, contact me or Spangle. We're the vendors for those. He's running a sale on those from $2.99 down to $2.75. We have 11 of those buckles left. They are limited edition. They are numbered with serial number. And once those 11 are gone, they're gone. So if you thought about getting one, now's a good time. The price has dropped to $2.75 until the end of this month, February 28th. All right. So remember to join us for our next Tuesday Night Live show each week, 7 p.m. Central, same clause time, same clause channel. Stuart, thank you again, my brother. Barry, great show. Thank you, Elf Angela. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next week. God bless, and thanks again.
Thank you all for being with us. And remember, we do this because we care. Good night.